Number 5, and this is going to be difficult for us, but it's I hate what my God hates. From that amazing thought and that comfort and that presence, David in verses 19 to 20, he goes to how God hates sin. And he hates those who have given themselves over to sin. And this is tricky for us. It can be hard for us to accept. How is it that God can hate someone? And how is it that we should, like David says, verse 21, do I not hate those who hate you? Verse 22, I hate them with the utmost. Not kind of like a little bit, but the whole thing of hatred. I think one of the difficulties for us is that hatred today, we have this idea of how it means. It means I have a freedom, because I hate you, I have a freedom to abuse you. That's not true. Or because I hate you, I have the freedom to devalue your life, that you are at a lower standard of life than me. And that's not what's meant here with this hatred. Remember, David was a king. And as king, he's essentially a politician. So he's got to work with ungodly people. Well, we could go back to the historical record and find that, like David had a general that he wanted to get rid of. This is an ungodly man. I do not want him as my chief general. And David repeatedly tried to move him out, get rid of him. And David said, I'm not going to compromise. Because of who you are, God, I cannot compromise with sin. Now God, because he's God, he has the privilege, he has the authority to punish sin. You and I, as God's people, we don't have that authority. But what does God do with those who are in sin? Yes, he will punish. But what does he do? He confronts them, doesn't he? He brings them to that fork in the road. This is my commandment. This is my way. This is how you're going. You got to stop. You got to repent. You got to turn. Because what God also does is when he confronts a sinner of his sin, he also offers salvation. Right? So even though God has a hatred of sin, he still confronts that sin and offers salvation. And so as we hate what God hates, we don't have the freedom to abuse, to degrade, to punish. What that leads us to is to confront in God's way, in God's time, but especially to offer salvation. Because there's only one way for them to be free of God's wrath on them for their sin. So I hate what God hates.